Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. In Detroit, it's not entirely uncommon to make a wrong turn that leads you toward another country. Some of us have made this mistake and found ourselves on the Ambassador Bridge to Canada. It's annoying and more than a headache. But recently, this wrong turn has been much more impactful for immigrants. After making that wrong turn, more than 200 people have recently been detained at the border this year in a facility that's not equipped for detention. Migrants seeking asylum in Canada who've been turned back have also been detained there. That's according to an NPR investigation. That investigation led to an inquiry by Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib. Last week, she held a press conference with staff attorneys from the ACLU of Michigan and the Michigan Immigrants Rights Center.
A wrong turn should not lead to a disappearance and an erosion of someone's due process.
To tell us more about what's happening at the border is Ruby Robinson. He's senior managing attorney with the Michigan Immigrants Rights Center. Ruby, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you, Robin. It's good to be here.
So first, could you give us an overview? When did you learn immigrants were being detained after making wrong turns that led them to the Ambassador Bridge?
Yeah, so just for context, people have made wrong turns to end up on the Ambassador Bridge toll plaza probably for as long as the Ambassador Bridge has been around.
Sure.
The challenge that we're seeing now is that the space at the bridge site, some people are being detained there for longer periods of time before they're, either before a decision is made to either release them or to move them to custody. And that is the concern because CBP, Customs and Border Protection, which is the federal entity that ensures that people and goods are permitted to come into the United States, is an intercepting agency. They are not a detention agency, but there is pressure on them to not permit certain people to be released. And the facilities there are not designed for the longer term detentions that we are seeing. So we have been hearing, and as the representative pointed out last week, that some individuals have been detained there for as long as almost 2 weeks. She learned about somebody who was there for almost 300 hours. And so the space there is not designed for detention period for any extended period of time. And we have concerns about what it means to detain people in settings like that indefinitely.
NPR reported on a woman who you're representing. She said she was taken into a windowless office space near the bridge. It was cold. She was held there for nearly 6 days. When her 1-year-old got sick and feverish, she was told there was no medicine. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you know about that case?
Yeah. So this is a mother with 2 U.S. citizen children. At the time, they were 5 and 1 years old. They made the wrong turn to end up on the bridge plaza. They did not cross into Canada. They remained in the United States. And instead of being released, which is what we had seen in the past on an alternate to detention, right? Someone would have received maybe a GPS anklet if it was a parent with young children. They were detained in this room together for 5 days. And her children were released on the 5th day to someone to take care of them because they were not getting the medical attention that they needed. And then she was released on the 6th day. So she is now in removal proceedings. Like many other people, she'll have her day in court to present her claim. But the concern is for 5 days, she was unable to reach counsel. Her family were unable to get in touch with her. And the conditions that we learned about, this is not supposed to be a long-term detention site, certainly not for families with children. And so we have real concerns about what that means in terms of, what is happening there, what does access mean? And, thankfully she was not, separated from her children at the beginning of this, but ultimately she made the difficult decision that her children should not be detained with her. And, the worst mistake she ever made, and then compounded even more by the reality of knowing, would she see her children again? Would she be deported? And so that was that's what she experienced for 5 days or 6 days in March.
You're listening to The Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're talking about the rise in recent immigration arrests at the Detroit-Canada border and humanitarian concerns surrounding those detainments. Our guest is Ruby Robinson. He's a senior staff attorney with the Michigan Immigrant Rights Center. Now, Ruby, we've discussed these human rights concerns that you and others have about these detainments, but are they technically legal?
So CBP is an intercepting agency. It is permitted to detain individuals who, are not permitted to enter the United States. But ultimately, the decision to detain someone or not, that decision belongs to ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And if it were a single adult, more likely than not, they would be moved to ICE custody. But what we're seeing is these sites, which are not set up for detention in any long stretch of time, being used for that. And we have concerns about what is happening there. What does access to medical care look like? Our understanding is they're only receiving like microwavable or add hot water meals. These are just, what if somebody's diabetic? What if somebody has other medical concerns that aren't being addressed? I would expect in an emergency, CBP will do what they need to do, call 911, transport the person to emergency medical care. But some people have chronic conditions. And so we just worry about, what is and what is not happening. CBP is permitted to detain individuals, but their guidance says that they should not be in these settings for more than 3 days. And we are seeing people, in any kind of setting like this, for extended periods of time beyond 3 days. I don't know, and we don't know how many of the individuals, detained since January meet that. Have exceeded 3 days. And so that's one of the questions that we have.
Ruby, before we let you go, we've discussed what this moment has meant for immigrants, but a lot of advocates warn that the way immigrants and green card holders, for that matter, have been treated with people held without due process, that should concern everyone. On the Metro, we recently reported how a civil rights attorney was detained at Detroit Metro Airport. He's representing a pro-Palestine protester. In Wisconsin, a judge was just arrested by the FBI. She's accused in a criminal complaint of ushering an undocumented man facing a misdemeanor battery charge through the jury door out of her courtroom to evade federal agents. This moment feels unprecedented. From your perch as an immigration attorney, is it?
So everybody in the United States, regardless of immigration status, deserves due process. They deserve an opportunity to confront evidence against them and to present a claim. And in circumstances where we're seeing, aspects of an erosion of due process, you see individuals being moved to El Salvador with limited opportunities to challenge the evidence used against them in those circumstances. I guess we are seeing that, and that is a major concern because we're going to have to leave it right there.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Ruby Robinson is Senior Managing Attorney with the Michigan Immigrants Rights Center. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro. A spokesperson for CBP disputed that there were over 200 people detained since January. He told NPR the number is closer to 50. That spokesman refused to give his name.
The Metro is hosted by Robin Vincent and Tia Graham. The show is produced by Sam Corey, Kerry Jr. II, and Jack Philbrand. Our senior producer is David Lyons. Our engineer is Nate Bender. Music and creative audio production by Sam Bobian. The Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. This is 1019 WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.